It was built up as a wide-open first round of this 2017 NHL Draft in Chicago, and it lived up to its billing. Here at Sam Cosentino and Louie DeBrusk, we had a record-setting performance by the Finns with 6 overall selections in the 31 picks. That surpasses the previous high of 5. And Nico Hischier becomes the first Swiss-born player to go first overall.
Well, it was so much wondering of whether or not that pick was going to be traded at all, and it didn't, in fact, get traded. So the New Jersey Devils looked like they had Hischier targeted for a long time, and that's exactly what they went with. A dynamic forward who can change the pace of play, but I think it's that little bit of dynamic skating ability that pushed him into that #1 spot.
Yeah, pretty incredible, and you talked about it, Daren, the fact that how far he had to come to get to this top spot, and hearing all the noise building once you're starting to play like that, he seemed to excel. That's when he played his best hockey. Dynamic player in the New Jersey Devils, Ray Shero, they felt this was the guy they wanted to take. They could have traded this pick away. They decided not to. They felt he was going to be an impactful player, and they went with him. Just a great pick by them, and the first time ever a Swiss-born player drafted first overall.
The Philadelphia Flyers ecstatic that they had Nolan Patrick as a former Wheat King, selects a current Wheat King. They'll see a lot of each other in that division with New Jersey and the Philadelphia Flyers. The Finn story, though, it was big a year ago at Patrick Laine, Jesse Puljujärvi, and it continued here tonight.
Well, unbelievable. 3 of the first 5 last year, and we knew there was going to be a huge influx of Finnish talent here. And it starts with Miro Heiskanen, Juuso Välimäki, and Eero Vakanainen, all defensemen that are Finnish-born descent. Then you go to Christian Vesalainen with the Winnipeg Jets, a big guy who they felt slipped to him there. Henri Jokiharju out of the Portland Winterhawks gets to wear the same uniform with the Chicago Blackhawks. And L.A. Tolvanen, a real steal for Nashville at 30th. He's a snipe show. That's
the guy, the Finnish Tarasenko right there. There'll be a lot of rye bread amongst the Finnish players. They talked about that at the Combine. It's not the same over here, but incredible how they've just broke onto the scene and is showing here a record-setting showing at this draft.
This completes a busy week for the Vegas Golden Knights between the expansion draft and then this first round, rounds 2 through 7 to come. But they had a strong presence with 3 of the 31 picks as the NHL expands.
Use their leverage in the expansion draft to get those 3 first-round picks. And what do? They address the middle of the ice. When teams are building from scratch, you have a perfect opportunity to do that. And rather than be tempted by moving any of those picks, they said, no, we're not going to do that. So they took Cody Glass at 6, playmaking center iceman. A great year in the Western Hockey League with 94 points. Then we went with Nick Suzuki, a centerman out of the Owen Sound Attack. Another point-producing player who makes those around him better. And finally, with that 15th pick, they go to Erik Brannstrom, puck-rushing defenseman that has become so popular in the National Hockey League.
If that's the kind of team they're going to put together, then Gerard Gallant's going to have a whole lot of fun.
He is, and you know, that's the way he coaches, which is incredible. And I really like the Erik Brannstrom pick, for the Vegas Knights. I just think, you know, he's one of those guys that can really change a game with his skating, with his puck mobility. And you know what? Down the road, he could be potentially their best defenseman on their team with the way the National Hockey League is going. So I like that they went off a little risky with a defensive pick because he's really high end.
Such a different feel. No headlines really from a Canadian perspective because it was backloaded compared to a year ago when Austin Matthews and the Toronto Maple Leafs led the way out with the first overall pick. But all Canadian teams did have a pick.
Yeah, they sure did. And actually only one Canadian was selected out of the 7. It started with Elias Pettersson, who's a bit of a surprise pick there, but a dinner with the Sedins after the Combine, they felt really confident in going with him, as well as having a good connection with Jonathan Dahlin, a pick they acquired last year. Then the Calgary Flames selected Juuso Välimäki of the Tri-City Americans. Rooms with Michael Rasmussen, a guy who likes the lighter side of things but can bring some offensive upside in what is a two-way game. The Toronto Maple Leafs ecstatic to get Timothy Liljegren with the 17th pick. Here's a guy who, going back a year ago, was expected to go on the top 5. Well, he slipped this year. Mono at the start of the year forced him down. The Maple Leafs getting him, mirroring their forwards with a puck-moving, great skating player from the back end this time around. The Edmonton Oilers not afraid about the size of Kailer Yamamoto. 42 goals, an absolute snipe show. Learned to skate from Debbie Johnson, the mother of Tyler Johnson, who he works out with in Spokane. A dynamic player with great edges. The Winnipeg Jets, Kevin Cheveldayoff, going with Christian Vesalainen, who can play on either side. And I think he fell as a value pick there based on the way he exited Frölunda. Things weren't very happy and a little bit contentious in his exit, leaving the SHL. Ryan Poehling goes to the Montreal Canadiens, the youngest player in the NCAA this year. Wanted to go to St. Cloud State to play with his brothers, his twin brothers. He did so at 13 points, but he has huge upside as he grows, gets stronger, and develops. And finally, with the Ottawa Senators, Shane Bowers, the Maritimer, who stunned 2 QMJHL teams by not showing up to them after being drafted there on 2 different occasions. Played with Waterloo in the USHL, and a guy who they feel is a really safe pick with that pick.
You know, next year you're just going to do this thing by yourself.
Yeah. 27 to 31 you had on your list. That's pretty impressive.
You've been through this as a player, as a parent, and now on the panel.
All stressful.
Yeah.
All stressful. No. Great time. You know, it's an exciting day for everybody involved.
Record-setting performance here in the first round of the NHL Draft. The first time ever that it's hosted by the city of Chicago and the Chicago Blackhawks, and they did a marvelous job.